Let
So
me
if
ask
you're
you about.
going on best player available, he's not that guy.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you about Brandon Aiyuk because since the last time we talked, there's been some updates. The Niners kind of buried this. They did bury it on a Saturday afternoon. They placed Brandon Aiyuk on the reserve left squad list. I've never heard of the reserve left squad list. Does this sound like the end? Like they're going to cut him at the end of the season and he'll be on another team and that'll be that? Or do you think the Niners drag this out, keep him on the list, try to bring money back, refuse to cut him, try to trade him, make his life a living hell? What do you think?
The thing is, the more the Niners allow this to drag on, the worse it is for the organization because it becomes a distraction. Players are asked what they, organizational people are asked what they think. No one ever asks Aiyuk what he thinks because you never get anybody. To talk with the guy. I think they just need to cut and move on and say it's over, a bad situation. Let's sever it and go separate ways, and let us focus on what we need to do to maintain or to improve the quality of our squad physically, mentally, emotionally from that perspective, and say it's over. Move on. Build a bridge and get over it.
Do you think they need him? Do you think they've handled this correctly?
I would say both parties have not handled it correct. Not to affix blame specific individual. I'll say neither group handled it well. They needed marriage counseling and they didn't get it done. So therefore they had the divorce.
I've never seen two parties get married and divorced in football so quickly. I mean, you called it beforehand when the Niners were thinking about proposing. You were like, I really don't think this is going to work out. They did it anyway. And it seemed like on the honeymoon, they were like, this was the worst decision I've ever made.
I mean, they had buyer's remorse in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat before he injured his knee. And I guess, I don't know. They can act like he didn't want to be a part of the team. I just think they didn't want to pay him. I think they felt we gave him way too much money. He's not worth it. He's not going to be that good anymore. Let's let him void this contract and move on. And I wonder if they're ever going to spend big money on a wide receiver again. I think they have trauma, post-traumatic stress.
Well, they should examine, what motivated them to make that decision and say, okay, we've got to rethink things and take time and not react impulsively. The bottom line, unfortunately, from the get-go, as I had discussed with you multiple times, he was not a good fit for that offense because they never utilized him in the same kind of skill set that you would have. I go back to the Rams years ago with the greatest show on turf with Kurt Warner, and they had Holt and they had Eller. They had some great receivers, and he was of that mold and that ilk. And the passing game in San Francisco is, light years away from what they were doing in St. Louis.
Let me ask you this: now that Aiyuk is and they're most likely going to release him and create a bunch of cap space, should they use that cap space to re-sign Jawan Jennings?
To be honest, I wouldn't. I mean, you like his aggressiveness, you like the way he run blocks, but from a skill set, an age as well as skill set, speed, and all that, he may make the tough catches, but he doesn't add any vertical concept to their offense. He doesn't provide them with a quick six mentality. His, as they call it now, the explosive plays are there when they hit him on the square end. The route is the explosive play. His run after the catch is more minimal than you would like. And there are a lot of good receivers coming out in the draft. I'm sure there'll be some decent ones in the free agent market as well. But I tell you, now would be the time for them to move on.
What about Pearsall? He hadn't done anything until last week. They made a real concerted effort. They gave him a target on the first play of the game. I don't know. They were probably watching our show. They probably were like, okay, fair enough. You bring up a good point. So they gave him 6 or 7 catches, and then he hobbled off the field. We'll see if he practices today. I mean, what do you think of the future for Pearsall? Can he get a little bit more durable and become what Aiyuk was for the offense?
See, that is the question. From a physical perspective, is he ever going to be healthy to merit the selection in which you took him, and then the money you're going to have to pay him when his contract comes up? He's still on a rookie deal and everything. But I tell you, the durability, this game is a physical, violent collision sport. Okay? Now, here's the other thing. Pearsall has a track background, correct?
Yes.
Track guys notoriously are always having these nagging injuries. They're slow to recover. They warm up differently than a football player warms up.
Yep.
I mean, I've been around track guys. It's a guy named Branch, and we had, Calvin Muhammad, Malcolm Barnwell, Willie Galt, Sam Grady, James Jett, gold medal winners in the Olympics. Those guys have a different warm-up routine than, quote unquote, a typical wide receiver who is a football player. And, he's a track guy first and a football player trying to become a football player.
I see. And those,
I go
those
back to the
Ferraris,
receiver the Niners had years ago. Yeah. I go, remember the guy named Ronaldo Nehemiah?
Mm-hmm.
The hurler who and Bill gave him a $250,000 signing bonus. And Billy Wilson was the receiver coach then at that time. And I asked Billy one day, I said, well, how many, because we turned him down. He wanted $250,000 out, and Al said, we'll see you later. So he went across the bay. The bottom line, I asked Billy, I said, well, how long are you going to work with this guy before you're going to say he can do it or he can't? He said, I give him 3 years. If he can't do it after 3 years, it's over. And it was over. So track guys are tough.
Okay. Well, it seems like wide receiver could be one of the Niners' biggest needs this offseason. See if he's better than the first-round pick on that position. Should we look ahead to the Colts?